Right now, as you watch this video, your brain is lying to you. Not occasionally, not sometimes, constantly. Every memory you trust, every decision you make, every belief you hold about yourself and the world around you, filtered, edited, and in some cases completely fabricated by the 3 pounds of tissue sitting inside your skull. And the most terrifying part? It does it so smoothly, so seamlessly, so convincingly that you never even notice. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain. We're going to look at exactly how your brain deceives you, why it does it, and what it means for the way you live your life. By the end of this, you will never trust your own mind the same way again. And that, believe it or not, is a good thing. Let me ask you something. Do you remember your first day of school? A childhood birthday? A conversation that changed your life? You probably do. And it probably feels vivid, real, detailed. Here's what neuroscience tells us. That memory is not a recording. It never was. Your brain does not store memories like a video camera, capturing footage and playing it back on demand. Instead, every time you remember something, your brain reconstructs it. It pulls fragments from different places, fills in the gaps with assumptions, and hands you something that feels like the truth. But it isn't. Every single time you recall a memory, you subtly change it. The people in it shift. The emotions intensify or fade. Details get added that weren't there. Details get removed that were. Psychologist Elizabeth Loftus spent decades proving this. In one famous experiment, she showed people footage of a car accident and asked how fast the cars were going when they smashed into each other versus when they contacted each other. The word alone changed what people remembered. Those who heard smashed later recalled broken glass that was never in the video. One word, false memory, instant. Think about what this means for your own life. The story you tell yourself about your childhood, how loved you were, how hard it was, what your parents were like, that story has been edited thousands of times. Every time you remembered it, you changed it a little. The argument you had last year that you're still replaying, your version of events is not what happened. It's what your brain decided happened, filtered through your emotions, your ego, and your need to be right. Your past is not what you remember. It's what your brain chose to keep. Here's something that will make you question everything. Your eyes are not windows. They are not passively capturing the world and sending it to your brain for review. Your brain receives raw, incomplete, chaotic visual data from your eyes, and then it predicts what you're seeing based on what it expects to see. In other words, you are not seeing the world. You are seeing your brain's best guess about the world. This is called predictive coding. And it explains so much about human behavior that it's almost unsettling. It explains why you can read a sentence with every word misspelled and still understand it perfectly. Your brain predicted the words before you finish seeing them. It explains why two people can witness the exact same event and describe it completely differently. Their brains had different expectations, so they literally saw different things. It explains optical illusions. Your brain is so committed to its prediction that it refuses to update even when the evidence contradicts it. And it explains something far more personal and far more dangerous: confirmation bias. When you believe something about yourself, about other people, about the world, your brain actively filters incoming information to confirm that belief. Evidence that supports what you already think gets amplified. Evidence that contradicts it gets minimized or ignored entirely. If you believe you're unlucky, your brain highlights every bad thing that happens and glosses over every good thing. If you believe someone doesn't like you, your brain finds proof in their every word and expression, even when none exists. If you believe you're not smart enough, not talented enough, not worthy enough, your brain will spend every waking moment collecting evidence to prove itself right. Your brain is not searching for truth, it's searching for confirmation. We are storytelling creatures. From the moment we wake up to the moment we fall asleep, our brains are narrating our lives, constructing a story that makes sense of what's happening to us, assigning meaning, finding patterns, drawing conclusions. And that would be fine if we were good at it. But we're not. We are spectacular at finding patterns that don't exist, seeing faces in clouds, hearing messages in random noise, connecting dots that have no connection. Psychologists call this apophenia, the tendency to perceive meaningful connections between unrelated things. And we do it constantly with our own lives. We tell ourselves stories like, I always fail when it matters most. People like me don't succeed. I'm just not built for happiness. Every time I try, something goes wrong. These stories feel true because your brain has curated enough evidence to support them, but they are not objective reality. They are narratives, constructed, edited, repeated until they feel like fact. And here's the brutal truth. The story you tell yourself about your life becomes the life you live. If you tell yourself you're a victim, you will find evidence of persecution everywhere. If you tell yourself you're capable, you will find evidence of your own potential everywhere. Same world, different story, completely different life. Your brain has one priority above all others. Not truth, not accuracy, not growth. Your survival, and the survival of your sense of self. The ego, that inner voice that narrates your life, will do almost anything to protect its own story. Because if the story falls apart, something that feels like you falls apart with it. This is why we struggle to admit we're wrong. It's not stubbornness, it's self-preservation. Admitting you're wrong means updating the story. And updating the story feels like a threat to identity. This is why we hold on to beliefs long after the evidence has disproved them. The brain would rather protect a comfortable lie than accept an uncomfortable truth. This is why we self-sabotage, sometimes unconsciously. We choose failure because success would require becoming a different version of ourselves. And the brain fears that change like a threat to survival. The ego doesn't want you to grow. It wants you to stay the same. Because same is safe, same is known, same is survivable. Every time you've said, that's just who I am, that was your ego protecting its story. Every time you've avoided something because it's not for people like me, that was your brain filtering reality through a fixed identity. Every time you've held a grudge, replayed an argument, or refused to forgive, your ego was defending its narrative at the expense of your peace. So, if your brain is constantly lying to you, what do you do with that? You can't turn it off. You can't opt out of perception. You can't simply choose to see reality as it is, because you have no direct access to reality as it is. But you can do something powerful. You can become aware. Awareness is not a cure, but it is a correction. When you notice a strong emotional reaction, ask yourself, is this what's actually happening, or is this my brain's prediction? When you catch yourself replaying a painful memory, remind yourself, this is a reconstruction. It is not what happened. It is what I remember. When a story about yourself feels absolutely certain, question it. Ask, is this true? Or is this just what I've been told? Or what I've told myself long enough that it feels true? The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius wrote about the gap between events and our interpretation of events, between what happens and what we tell ourselves about what happens. That gap, small as it is where your freedom lives. You cannot control what your brain shows you, but you can control how much you believe it. You can learn to hold your thoughts more lightly, to question your memories, to challenge your stories, to recognize your ego's self-protection for what it is, a survival mechanism, not a moral authority. Here's the unexpected twist. Your brain lies to you, and that lying has kept your species alive for hundreds of thousands of years. The pattern recognition that creates false beliefs also helped your ancestors survive predators. The predictive coding that generates confirmation bias also allows you to read, drive, and hold a conversation simultaneously. The ego that resists change also gives you a stable identity to build a life around. The storytelling that creates false narratives also gives you meaning, purpose, and the ability to imagine a future worth working toward. Your lying brain is also your creative brain, your resilient brain, your hopeful brain. The goal is not to silence it. The goal is to understand it well enough to work with it, rather than being unconsciously controlled by it. Your brain is lying to you, but now you know, and knowing changes everything. Not because knowledge stops the lies, but because awareness creates a witness, a part of you that watches the thoughts, questions the stories, and chooses, consciously, deliberately, what to believe and what to release. That witness is the truest version of you, not the voice, not the story, not the ego, the one who watches all of it and decides. If this made you look at your own mind differently, drop a comment. Tell me one story your brain has been telling you that might not be true. I read every single one. See you in the